Hello, 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 everyone. This is Ellington, the Backseat Generals, and today we have got a long one for you. This battle is taking place on the city of Ankara. Check me on the pronunciation on that because I have no idea if I said that correctly. But today is a 4 versus 4. This replay was sent in by Axe Minister. So we're just going to go ahead and get straight into the armies. So on the attacking side, we've got Seleucid here, and Seleucid is being brought by Beastmaster. He's got a pretty, typical Seleucid army. Got a bunch of hillmen and eastern spears to kind of push up siege equipment, with some thorax swords kind of providing the core of his army. Then he's got his 4 Syrian heavy archers and 2 thorax pikes, and then his gen is a royal peltus. Doesn't look like he brought any cav or anything. Then right next to him we've got our Verney, and our Verney today is being commanded by Axe Minister, the gentleman who sent in this replay. And let's look at his army. So we got Celtic warriors, Levy Freeman, and then a heavy horse, and then I bet a bunch of these guys are Celtic warriors. Two Celtic warriors, and then 2 chosen swords on the towers. Levy Freeman, and then a bunch of chosen sword, and then of course he's got the Gallic hunters. And let's see, 1 oath sworn, a naked warrior, and then his gen is an oath sworn. And then it does look like he's got 1 more Celtic warrior over here. Now the third army is Parthia, and Parthia is being brought by the one, the only Poopy Man. And Poopy Man has, let's see, a bunch of hillmen to move his siege towers, and then some Parthian swords as well. So a little bit mix of both, and then the core of his army is being made up mostly of Parthian swords, and then of course he's got some Parthian foot archers. He did bring a Eastern Giant Ballista. It's a big old boy right there, and his gen is a Royal Cataphract. The final attacking army is going to be Pontus, and Pontus is being brought by Billy Blazes. Now, Pontus, let's see. Hillman, Pontic Sword, Hillman. So a mixture of Hillman and Pontic Sword. Pontic Swords are really just kind of building, once again, filling up the core of his army. And then he does have some thorough spears to throw their jabbies. And then he brought Eastern Archers, a Bronze Shield Pike, and then his gen is a Pontic Royal Cav, and he has a Cappadocian Cav as well. Now, unfortunately, we cannot see the defenders at the moment, but the nations that they are bringing are Bactria, Getae, Macedon, and Pergamon. Now, Solo Wing Pixie is bringing Bactria, Ninja Dragon is bringing Pergamon, Daewoo Lanos is bringing Getae, and Andrew Stern is bringing Macedon. So let's go ahead and get this one started. It's going to be a little bit of a long one, but I hear it's a good one. So let's go ahead and start up and get these siege equipment moving forward. And right off the bat, we've got some siege equipment that are, or some ballistas that are firing out against the siege equipment. Looks like he's actually going after this kind of exposed unit of hillmen over here. Well, not okay. Yeah, he's going after the Parthian swords here. I don't think Bactria is going after anything quite yet. I guess he is now. Let's see. So yeah, he's going after the archers. This was not a good idea here. You really want to string out your units a lot thinner than that. It means basically if you do get hit by artillery, you don't get as many kills. So like this is really good. If this gets hit by artillery, it's going to go right through and it's going to kill a couple, yes. But when you're really clumped up together, you can see that there's a lot more people for the artillery to kill. One shot gets a lot more kills. Macedon. Is Macedon firing at anything? Yeah, so he went and just took down that tower. Doesn't hurt to go ahead and get rid of one, get it off of the field. And then Pergamon looks like he is going to go after the second siege tower over here, which is kind of interesting. I wonder why he decided not to go after this one. But that one is about to go down here pretty soon. Unfortunately, typically when you're destroying siege equipment with your ballista, you don't typically have enough shots to take down more than one. So you kind of have to be very choosy about which one you want to target down, because it may assist you in kind of condensing where the enemy is going to come down, or like come onto your wall. So Arverni here is using his archer. He's trying to burn this ballista. He knows that even though the ballista destroyed this and doesn't have enough for anything else, that ballista could still do damage. And it looks like Macedon here has changed to standard shot. The standard shot's going to be a little more accurate, just with a little less damage done. And so he's going to go straight into these Celtic warriors here and try and get some kills on them. He's lost about 10 off of that unit there. And then the Levi Freeman back here has lost about 8. And the Celtic warriors lost 1. So they've done some damage to him. These archers got hit up a little bit. Now it looks like Getae is going to try and take down this tower here. I think, you know, he spent a couple shots on some of the infantry earlier, so I don't know if he's going to quite have enough ammo to take that thing down. As Bactria has started firing again. Yeah, it looks like he's holding his fire, which I think makes sense. You know, it doesn't hurt to kind of let them get a little closer. Now, Getae is doing a really smart move. He's actually, you can use his artillery ammo to take down this artillery. He's gotten 3 of them now. Let's see if he can get the final one. I don't think he's either out of ammo or he's holding fire. I'm going to assume he probably ran out of ammo. He did take down 3 of those ballistas, but not quite the last one, unfortunately. Now, as you can see, we are getting a lot more of visuals on the armies here. So it looks like Macedon's got some militia hoplites, thorax swords, some thorough spears. So as you can see, he's lining them up here rather than lining them up here. What happens here is as the units come onto the walls, from this perspective, you can take your Pila and throw right into them on the... What typically happens if you are stationed on this wall, as they're coming off of this siege tower, they really just kind of blow through all your forces and they split you up and really screws up your formation. So it just isn't a very good thing to do. So good move by Macedon. These Celtic warriors are just going to get annihilated by Pila. It's very, very rough. The nice thing about this guy here is militia hoplites don't have javelins, so they are going to get hit by the thorax swords, but these guys aren't firing anything at them. Now it looks like Arverni is getting a couple more units onto the walls here, and there's not much resistance in this little corner here to stop them, although Macedon is moving up a thorax sword. Now Seleucid is getting closer and closer to the walls here, but they have not quite landed. It looks like they're going to kind of start landing on Pergamon here soon. Now on the other side, Pontus is getting very close. They've got 1 unit of hillmen onto the walls, where half of it is still on the tower, funnily enough. And the other towers are just kind of biding their time before they go in. It looks like we have some archers over this way. We can see a little bit more of Getae now. They've got the Dacian heavy bows, some spears, heavy spears, mercenary axe warriors, and they're going to come in and start attacking in on the Pontic hillmen right now. Now, I believe that the ballista back there is firing over in this direction right now. I don't know, I think he's maybe just trying to get some kills on some of these guys. Like, these guys are down 131 out of 160. Yeah, so he's really just kind of hitting into this defense back here. I can't believe that didn't kill any. Okay, there we go. I was like, that, what? Then Getae does have some heavy spears holding this little choke point right there. Now, Macedon has come in and engaged the Arverni forces on this side. The Celtic warriors are really... Their main goal here is to hold on to this little spot so that Arverni can get more units onto the wall without too much resistance. And then these Celtic warriors should beat these militia hoplites. But over here you can see with the heavier troops, the Thorough Spears and the Thorax Swords, those units just got crushed when they got on the... We do have some mercenary Cretan archers that are getting some shots in. I think they're probably firing into the Celtic bows, or the Celtic warriors right here. But Arverni is responding with his own archers, shooting probably at the Cretan archers themselves. I think Arverni has the initiative on that fight. I think he got the initial volley, which is good for him. Yeah, see, he's really just dominating these Cretan archers. Now this other unit is still firing strong, 120 out of 120. And then this Thorough Spear and the Thorax Sword are really just waiting for more. You know, you want to wait until you get a big clump of units on here before you start firing your Javies in there, because then you have a better chance of hitting people. More people there, the more chance you're going to hit them. Now, Seleucid did land, looks like, a Thorax Sword, and so they're going 1v1 versus another Thorax Sword. The Macedon has a unit of hoplites that's just kind of really protecting the flank of the rest of the Macedon forces. Holding back, let's see, a Hillman and a Thorax Sword, but Pergamon is sending some Galatian swords to assist. Now, Seleucid does have 2 units of, or I guess all 4 units of his Syrian archers up here are really just destroying this Galatian sword unit. They're at 71 of 160. See, 53 kills, 59 kills, 87 and 74. So they are really just racking up the kills. It looks like Seleucid is just going to kind of take it a little slow on this side here. Wait till the other armies get a little better of a foothold. Now on Pontus and Parthia's side, Pontus is on the wall with some Pontic swords. And then looks like Parthia's got some Hillmen. And Getae is really just kind of holding back onto this little spot here. He might send a couple units here and there to kind of annoy them, but for the most part, his units, it looks like they're really just going to defend this spot here. His Dacian bows are in a firefight with the Eastern archers, and it looks like they're really just duking it out. You know, it doesn't look like either one is doing too much crazy damage. Oh wow, Bactria is sending out a whole huge amount of units back here. Wow. So Bactria has a lot. Let's see, he's set up his line with Thorax Swords, and then he's got his mercenary Syrian archers out here, and then he's got a pike unit, Thorough Spears. Like, that's a ballsy move by Bactria, I'm not going to lie, but it's not a bad one, I don't think, because Pontus isn't coming this direction. Bactria is kind of zoned out of the fight, so I don't mind this move here of pulling out on this section, protecting your flanks here, but being able to get your men into combat. Now your archers can deploy against them. Now we, instead of just the Getae archers, now we have the Bactrian and the Getae archers fighting against one army's archers. So, you know, now that they're outnumbering them, they can really just do some heavy damage. I was curious because I was seeing all this cav deploying over here, so I thought maybe there was a cav sally out or something. There's a crossing over here, so they could come out of the back gate, come over this way, and they could flank around. So that's what I thought was happening, but I did not see this Bactria move. I kind of like this. It's ballsy. I don't mind a move like that. Now that artillery is really making them pay for it. 138, 143. I think the pikes the pikes didn't quite get hit, which is good. That's the one you really don't want to get hit. So now that Parthia and Pontus have really set up, gotten a foothold, they're really just kind of starting to get things organized so they can start their deployment against the heavy spears here, especially since they won the archer fight. I think they won the archer fight against Getae. They were able to force them to fall back before they lost too many. But it does look like Getae brought them back this way. And then Macedon's got a unit here. And then right in the middle we have 2 Getae units fighting against an Arverni Celtic warrior and a Hillman from Parthia. Macedon is really just like holding on by a thread against Arverni here. Got a chosen sword against... Alright, chosen sword. and Oathsworn all against the Thorax Sword, which is just not going to go well. There is a small unit of Thorax Swords here, 65 men that are going to try and hold them back, and looks like they're going to start falling back some of their others and trying to kind of solidify their line of defense here. Seleucid is still kind of fighting on with a Thorax Sword. It's such an even fight. 92 men versus 91 men. You know, you can't get much closer than that. The Hoplite here is still alive, 116 out of 160. Then 2 units of Galatian Swords fighting this Thorax Sword here. Now, Seleucid is moving up a Thorax Sword up onto the walls. He's going to try and pump some more units into that little fight right there. Now, Seleucid did move his Syrian archers over this way, and they're going to get some fantastic side shots on Macedon's units here. Look at that. It's just a beautiful shot right there. Now, it looks like, honestly, Arverni on this side has the best foothold. He has this whole section pinned down and opened up for his army, and that's going to really allow to put some pressure on Macedon and Pergamon over here. Now, Getae and Macedon do have a bunch of their archers right here in the middle, so they'll be able to do some good damage to the attackers while this is going on. But it does look like Macedon is just fully pulling his men off of that side. So it looks like instead of holding the rest of this wall, they're going to condense everything to the inner streets. Probably not a bad idea. You know, less places to hold, which means less units to spread out. Now, Macedon here, or Bactria here, sorry for the dog in the background there. Bactria here is really just kind of hold. I don't know why. Like, I didn't mind this tactic here, but I don't really know why you're gonna throw out like one unit of Thorax Swords. It doesn't really make much sense to me. It seems like a waste of a unit. I didn't mind the setup over here, kind of getting outside, getting a little more into the combat, but now you're just kind of throwing units in kind of one by one, and that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, you have Thorax Sword, but then, you know, there's a ton of units out here, including a pikeman. They don't have a pike out here to deal with it, so this Bronzefield pike is just going to tear these guys to shreds. Yeah, I don't think I like that move right there. I think that's just throwing away guys. Now, Parthia and Pontus have engaged the Getae units. Looks like a mercenary axe warrior versus a couple Pontic swords. And then it looks like a bunch of Parthian swords going up against these heavy spears and mercenary axe warriors. Now on this side, it's all Parthia. Looks like either Arverni lost that unit of Celtic warriors or they just pulled it off. But the heavy spears are holding back 3 units of Parthian swords, but it does not look like they're going to be doing that for long. They probably want to send this spear unit in to continue to hold that gap. Bactria is really just kind of staying there. They don't really have much to do right now. Now, because this is all done, Seleucid and Arverni are really just going to be able to bring all of their units into the settlement at free will. There's really nothing stopping them right now. Now, Pergamon does still have a hoplite unit over on this side. And I'm sure there's plenty more stuff back this way that we can't see at the moment. But we can see some Galatian swords, some Agema spears, which is a great unit. I looked that up, and I was always curious what an Agema spear is. It looks just like a Thuro spear, but I guess Agema means guard. So it's basically like a really good Thuro spear. They're like the royal guards of spears. Then we have 2 regular pikes from Macedon, the Pergamene's noble cav general, and then a couple of the slingers from Pergamon as well. Now, the defense for Macedon and Pergamon, most of the part is right here, where they must be out of 140 kills, 178 kills. Yeah, they must be out of ammo. So Seleucid has sent his mercenaries, or his Syrian heavy archers in, I guess, just to kind of waste some ammo of the enemies. So they are engaging the Thorax Swords here. Now, these Thorax Swords are probably going to rack up some kills from it, although it does look like they are in shield wall. So we have a Hoplite unit, Thuro Spear. They got a lot of stuff in this little gap, which is good because you don't need a huge unit to cover this gap. Now, it does look like Getae did lose that gap there. So this Mercenary Axe Warrior is holding on to this for a little while. Probably so that the Pergamon slingers can get some shots off before they have to fall back. Now, Getae's already got his Noble Sword in the fight over here. That's kind of interesting. It's pretty early. Heavy spears, Mercenary Axe Warriors, Noble Swords, and an Armored Spear. Now, I would say that it is a pretty well-contested strategy idea that kind of a lot of different people contest over on whether or not you should use your general early on or not. There's a lot of people who say that you should hold your general to the very last time until like most of the ammo is gone, so you don't get him killed. But then there's a lot of people think that think that you should use your general early on because he's one of your best units. So it's very interesting that I personally don't like using my gen that early on, just because if you lose him, it can be very impactful. But I do think he might be dead. This Getae general. He's down to 25 men. That hurts. It's a lot of damage. Now, Bactria still has his units out here, which is very interesting. I will say what it is doing. It is forcing Pontus and Parthia to think about them and kind of leave units to basically keep them from getting surrounded or flanked. It's kind of an interesting idea, but as you can see, they are starting to move them back in because it's really, at this point, it's no longer that useful. They kind of need these units in the settlement to assist in the defense now. Now over here, Seleucid is really starting to push into this small gap here. They've got quite a bit of units coming here. Thorax swords. As you can see, the Syrian archers are starting to break just because, you know, they're not made to fight this way. The Thorax swords here from Macedon are up to 148 kills, and that's probably all on those Syrian archers. Now, they are starting to go over here, and look at this, look at this. Breacing over the wall here, that is a great move. You can use the wall here to get around, so sometimes people don't extend their defense all the way to the end because they don't think about it. So keep an eye out on that. You can actually use this wall to get around the defense. That is exactly what Axe Minister did with his chosen swords here. Now, Pergamon is really just, he's throwing in his Galatian swords on those chosen swords, try and keep them from, you know, getting off of there. Now, the chosen swords are pretty weakened, you know, so it's combat even right now. Otherwise, the Galatian swords would have no chance of winning that combat. Now here we got Galatian swords versus Thorax swords with a chosen sword coming into the combat. The Galatian swords really don't have a chance, not in that combat, not against two units. But they do have a lot of kills, 130 right now, 129 technically. So they're doing pretty well at killing some guys and holding this little gap. And then we've got another unit coming in. That will be much helpful. I don't think that'll cause them to win, but it'll allow them to hold it a little bit longer. Now on this side, Pergamon and Macedon have a pike and hoplite combo, which is a nasty combo. You know, hoplites to soak up any ammo, and the pikes to just sit there and kill everything. Now the Oathsworn are in combat with the Agamus Spears. Even though the Agamus Spears are great units, they are not typically a killing unit. So I think the Oathsworn really have the edge here, and they're absolutely winning. Now there is a Galatian sword that's backing up the Agamus Spears, which should help a little bit. And then, but Seleucid is going to be sending in his Thorax sword to help support that. Now this is just a mosh pit. Now the downside to the attackers is that Bactria did put one of his pike units in there, and they don't really have anything they can do about it. Their archers are completely out of ammo, and they don't have any of their pikes here. Now, I'm not really sure why Bactria pulled his pikes off of that. It could be, sometimes the pikes can be a little goofy in the game, and sometimes they do things you don't want them to. That might be why. Otherwise, I would just leave them in. They can. This is a great spot for a pike unit. Now, at the front end here, man, they're just barely... Oh, that was disgusting. So the Armored Spears and the Elite Persian Archers here are just holding this gap by barely a thread, and they just got destroyed by these Parthian foot archers. Man, that was nasty. Now, Getae does have an armored spear here to help hold that spot for a little bit longer, but they're starting to get a little thin. They've got some armored spears and their Dacian bows over here. Man, these defenders, I think, man, they're already out of ammo on so many of their units, and honestly, both teams, because Seleucid's already out of ammo on all of his archers too, and man, that's rough. You know, that's not very good ammo management on your archers. You really need to make sure that the ammo you're using is on worthwhile targets. But yeah, so we got 3 units of Parthian archers who have a great shot, angle here. They're firing, directly into this side angle here, and that's just, that's just disgusting. Now, it does look like Bactria got his army back into the fight now, which is good. Pergamon and Macedon are doing an admirable job over here in just really containing a lot of this stuff. Now, I don't really see why your pikes would be sitting back here. I think your pikes... Well, I guess it's a thorax pike. That's understandable. They had the thorax pike there. These pikes would lose to that. I still think that with support, though, I think they can keep them in. The slingers are doing a great job at focusing down those thorax pikes. They're at 98 out of 160. And then the pikes over here, Arverni's doing a smart job. He knows that he cannot charge directly into this, and he'll be slaughtered if he does. So he's holding back. He might have some Pila to throw, but other than that, he's just really just waiting for something else to give. Now in here, the pikes, yeah, see, this is what I was saying earlier. Sometimes your pikes just get really goofy. You gotta be very careful about watching them and making sure they're still in formation, because these guys are not, which means they're not really doing anything, and they're pretty exposed. Now, Bactria pulled his pikes back a tiny bit, because he doesn't really need them there since Pergamons are there. But you can see those armored spears just got destroyed by the archers. So really, the attackers have made their way all the way to this central capture point here. And on this side, I think Getae's, yeah, they're just getting out of there. They're going to try and save this unit. So they're probably going to fall back and try and hold closer to the point, which the victory point is right here. So it basically cuts it down to gaps like this, here, and here, which I think is definitely probably the best idea. Look at Arverni here. He's got his Gallic hunters probably firing right into the side of these guys, although it doesn't look like he's firing at the moment. Yeah, he's not firing right now. But Seleucid and Arverni are really pushing on this side. Look at how many troops they got over here. They're just waiting. I'm expecting that they're waiting on either archer support or javelins. They might be just walking up, using their javelins, and then walking away. Now the issue is that Pergamon's got a great setup with the slingers. They can really just support right over the heads of the defenders here, so they can fire right into these guys and just rack up some kills. This would be a great shot right there because they got their backs turned. You know, if you can hit them in the back with no shield, that's perfect. That is the best thing you can do. Got pikemen and a thorax sword here in the center here. The thorax sword's slightly in front of the pikes, really probably just to absorb ammunition from the enemies. And it really looks like the attackers at this point are kind of just pulling all their units in, getting set up, and basically trying to, figure out in which way they want to attack. Yeah, so you can see, got some bronze shield pikes. No, the bronze shield pikes got beat up quite a bit. They're 87 out of 160. I'm curious as to where they lost so many men. You can see there actually was a pretty big fight out here. But it does not look like the defenders took the better of that, you know what I mean? But they still have a very solid defense here. If I was Getae, I'd back this unit up. They're within range of that arrow tower. No point in sitting there and just losing men just for kicks and giggles, you know what I mean? As long as they sit here, they're just going to continuously lose men. Now, Macedon's got a Cretan archer here, and it looks like Pictopeltis from Pergamon going to come up and support this. Now those archers from Macedon, they're pretty cut down, but it looks like they've got plenty of ammo. They've only got 21 kills, so I bet they've got a ton of ammo left, which is great for the defenders. Let's see, we've got some Thorax Swords going up against some Thorax Swords. Combat even on that. And once again, they're just kind of waiting, taking their time, throwing some javies, probably getting some fire in on this other side as they try to get a couple units back behind them. Just good move, good move. Try and come in on one of these siege towers or something is good idea. Although I think what I would do if I was Pergamon at this point, I'd have these slingers get up on this wall and start shooting into these guys. Now, we do have a big push. Got, let's see, Thorax Swords from Seleucid, Levy Freeman, and Naked Warriors from Arverni. I think they're really going to push into the back end of this, which is going to force Pergamon to fall back. Now, once again, I think for a little while, you put some slingers up here and shoot into these guys until they get close, and then just run away at that point. I think they fell back a little early here. Galatian Swords are falling back from the Thorax Swords and the Chosen Swords from Arverni. And yeah, they're really just consolidating their forces here while Pergamon and Macedon kind of try to condense their defense a little bit more, giving ground, bending defense instead of a breaking defense. Now these Thorough Spears are kind of sitting behind this defensive line here, shooting, sink into the back units there. Which is probably a good move. You got Pontic Swords, you got Thorax Swords. I think they might even be... Oh, this is a great target because all these guys have their backs turned, and there's a Jinn in here too. So that's a good target right there. Really good target. Parthia is starting to move against Getae over here, and Getae does have the support of the picked Peltas. I really like this unit. It's a Peltas unit that is decent enough that it can do all right in melee. Now, obviously, it's not going to be holding any front lines, but it's something that is not bad to throw in when you... The Bactria's got a lot of units here holding up against the Parthian swords. Pergamon, is here really just laying into Arverni's troops while they're sitting there. Was this a Gema Spear? Yeah, those Gema Spears are really just probably racking up kills. 55 kills, and I bet most of that's from those javelins. And then as you can see, Arverni is starting to get like his Naked Warriors and his Levy Freeman up onto this side of the wall. Really just once again trying to exploit every little angle that they can, basically forcing the defenders to respond to them. It's a very good thing to do. My main suggestion when you're playing Rome or any Total War game, don't lose the initiative. Make your enemies respond to what you're doing so that you're not having to respond to what they are doing. If they continue to have to counter you and respond to your movements, then that means you have control of the battle. And if you feel like you've lost the initiative, you basically need to find a way to throw them off their game. Either distract them from something, or throw something at them that they're not expecting, and it could throw them off enough that you can reassert yourself in the initiative of the fight. So that's one of the biggest things, is make your enemies respond to your movements, and it will allow you to control the aspects of the battle. So that's one thing that I don't like, a stagnant defense, because I don't like standing there waiting for my enemy to come to me. I like to respond. I like to be a little bit of aggressive with my defense, which, can get me in trouble sometimes. But I personally just feel I like hoplites. I don't like hoplites. They don't do anything. They just stand there and they don't rack up very many kills, and you win the fight by killing the enemy. So now Bactria, Thorough Spears, I'm a big fan of them. Their javelin capability is fantastic. They have a precursor that you can control where it goes to. I much prefer them over a hoplite. They may not hold as long as a hoplite, but they definitely get more kills. So we got the pike and a Thorough Spear here, although it doesn't look like the pikes are out. Yeah, I think he's just realizing that his pikes are not out. which is not good. He probably just lost a lot of pikemen there for no reason. Once again, Arverni and Seleucid, they really can't do a whole lot against these formations right here. They just don't have the pikes right here. They don't have the pikes, they don't have the archers available in this section to go after these lines. So they're just holding, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you can hold on, you're not wasting units. That's the main thing. If they were to go into these lines, there would really just be wasting men. They would be being killed for literally no reason. So Pergamon now, okay, so Syrian archers, they're probably out of ammo, which is good. He's probably just using them to hold back a tiny bit if he can. Now these pikes are very, very exposed. I'm wondering, now these guys look like they're out of ammo. Yeah, so it looks like Arverni might be out of ammo, which is good for Pergamon because Pergamon's pikes are extremely exposed right now. Now, he does have a tiny unit of a Game of Spears supporting that, and then they do have a great slinger position right behind here, just laying into this massive enemies here. It's a good move. And then they do have a ton of Bactrian reinforcements ready to support. On this side, you know, Bactria is getting a little skinny over here. You know, Thoroughsphere is down to 101. Honestly, Parthia's got some gaps that he could exploit at this point that he's not. Got a lot of little gaps here that he could get around this defense and probably break this open. Now, Bactria over here does look like they're probably winning. Parthia really doesn't have an answer to these pikes right now, so these pikes can just sit there and just take, you know, just rack up kills. 92 kills. Thorax Sword supporting it. I think that's a good move. Now, Bactria's got his mercenary Syrian archers. Looks like they're out of ammo, so they're going to go into combat over there. And then he's got his tiny... This unit probably ran away at some point, and he might have forgot about it. It happens all the time. Your units, like, are breaking, but they come back, and so they're in some, like, random part of the settlement. And now we're just got a stare-off here. You know, it's a face-off. Really nothing happening. This Thorax Sword is kind of getting killed. And on this side... Let's see. It looks like... the Levy Freeman went into combat with the pikes here, and I'm not particularly sure why. Whoa, how did this happen? It looks like Seleucid was able to sneak a Thorax Sword around the Pergamon defense. Now it's going to die, but it was still very surprising. You know, 56 kills on the Thorax Sword. That's not great. I would say you didn't really get the worth of that. I don't know what Pergamon's doing here. I don't know why they're advancing to this spot. I think it's a worse spot than they were in. Especially because he's going to do the exact same thing that he did earlier and come around the edge here. I bet you he's going to do it. Do it, Axe Minister. Make me... Oh. Now, it could be, you know, sometimes the pathfinding isn't very good, but I guarantee that's what he was trying to do. But once again, they can't really make too much of an advance over here. I think they're really just waiting for this side to really make a good push and break through some of this and basically continue to peel away troops from the defense over here to help over here, because the slimmer the defense gets over here, the easier these guys can push. You know, that's another good suggestion when you're attacking or defending, honestly. But attacking, if you can't push your person, see if you can wait till an ally is able to push their side. Because the more they peel away from your side, you may be able to get a better push on yours. The main thing is just don't leave your allies to fend for themselves. That's just not cool. Now, Seleucid does have his Thorax Pike over here now, which is going to be extremely helpful at taking down some of this stuff over here. And then on the middle section, once again, they're just kind of looking at each other because there's not a whole lot they can do at the moment. Got some running away horses from some cavalry here. So we do have the Pergamene Noble Cav and the Macedonian Companion Cav over this way. I'm kind of surprised that the attackers aren't attempting to send anything this way. I guess because they can't quite get to it. Okay. They're blocked off. They can't get to that area. Never mind. I was going to say, you can actually take this pathway over this way down by the river and come right up behind the defense, which would really spread those lines extremely thin, but right now the attackers can't get to it yet because they're blocked off from this area here. It's good move by the defense, cutting off that route, especially because those are two very small places you have to hold. That really helps them. Seleucid did move some thorax swords over. I think he was trying to just like kind of push the edges of the pikes, see if he can get in on like an angle or something like that. You know, it's not a bad thing to try. And then we do have some slingers from the Pergamon that are going to start shooting into the thorax pikes. They've lost about 10 men, but they're still very, very healthy. I would probably get these thorax pikes to the middle here and push this. That would be my suggestion, because there's not really anything here. This would be, in my opinion, the best place to push this defense. They have this tiny unit of 75 pikes, but this huge gap that this small pike unit cannot cover the entire thing, which means that it's very thin, it's very weak, and these edges are defended only by a tiny unit of Agema spears and a tiny unit of Galatian swords. I would push the center here, which it looks like Seleucid really is, but why with thorax swords would be my question. You're using thorax swords against pikes, they're just going to die. You know, those pikes, let's see, what are they at? 209 kills on those pikes. You know, that's just an outrageous amount. Now, it looks like Arverni's got some Javies left, which they are using to lay into these pikes, so they actually have a huge issue on this center. There's nothing here. You know, they have this one unit of thorax swords coming up to hold, and it looks like they're going to throw in the picked peltis. Holy crap! Those picked peltis have 221 kills. That is crazy. Oh, whew. Now, I think Pergamon might be falling back here? Yeah, I think they're falling back to defend this center area. But they're kind of not falling back. They're falling back some troops, but not all the other troops. I would just fall everything back to probably like this point or something like that, or maybe these spots here, you know, and then to like 1, 2, 3 here would probably be my suggestion. Because I don't really know why you would leave all these units over this way. Your point is all the way over here. So you're kind of defending section of the area that's pointless. Really, there's nothing necessary about holding this area, so you don't need to. Especially if you're starting to lose another area that's between you and the victory point. That's not a good idea. Because right now, they are hauling butt through this center here, and they are throwing all they've got into it. And now Macedon's got this tiny unit of pikes of 48 men that they're going to put in there, and they're going to get some kills, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to hold that. Now on this side, yeah, Parthia, the attackers, they are just pushing hard into all these areas, basically everywhere except for the right side there. Bactria is really just holding onto this spot, and Pergamon and Bactria is just trying to hold back this rush of Parthian swords here. Now in the middle, we do have a big group of Seleucid and Arverni that I think are just waiting for the... Because like, there's no point in blobbing more stuff into this area, so they're really just waiting for something to give. It's just a dam holding back holding back this flood of troops. And then on this side, we've got the pikes versus the thorax swords, and then Arverni's going to eat his own medicine. Pergamon's taking the hoplite up along the wall path, and he's going to try and surround these guys. And then we got a pikeman here that's really just, once again, getting shot by an arrow tower when it doesn't really need to. And then, yeah, they're just holding back as much as they possibly can there. And then, yeah, they're getting so thin over here. Bactria is throwing in a pike unit over here that's supported by the Bactrian Royal Guard, and it looks like Parthia decided to pull off of that. I don't think he felt he could win there. Not against the Bactrian Royal Guard, a thorax sword, and a pike unit. You know, that's a nasty combo. We do still have a slinger unit here that's been supporting that area, and then the Macedonian gen is over here as well. Now, Arverni's general has actually been in the combat. He's got 110 kills and only lost 20 men. Not bad at all. And the defender, it looks like Seleucid's starting to lose quite a bit of men here. The Thorax Swords are pretty badly hurt. Oh, there is a healthy Thorax Sword and his general here. Gen's up to 54 kills and only lost 23 men. Not too bad. And then they have a ton of units in reserve here. And Pergamon, once again, I just think this is a waste of units. We've got 4 units here that really aren't doing anything. They don't really need to stare off with these guys right now. I would take these 5 units and I'd pull them back to the defense here. Just tighten up here a little bit because you're getting really slender on a lot of your other defenses. Way too slender to have 4 units or 5 units that are really not doing anything at all. Those pikes over there could be so useful on this center area. Like, because, see here, Bactria is pulling in a pike, but once again, it's this tiny pike of only 66 men. Yeah, one of those, like, Pergamon pikes that's got 100 and... Let's see, what do they got? 138 men in here? They could do so much work against this center area. There's nothing here to stop them. All it is a swordsman. Those pikes would destroy everything here, especially with 2 slingers in support. Now, Pergamon looks like he's moving stuff over here, and now Pergamon is pulling back some of his Agema spears. Once again, he's just got a pike here that's not really doing much. Bactria and Parthia are just looking at each other, except for here. Parthia did send in some units to fight the Thorough spears. And, yeah, that's about it there. So really the main fight that's going on right now is right here in the middle. And it's just a mosh pit, You look at this, just the slinger bullets going over the head, the pikes, it's just a crazy combination here. Yeah, this is, once again though, if you had a pike in this area, you could do so much work. But let me see where their pike's at. Like this guy. This pike, 38 men, is at 355 kills. Like, guys, what? What is this? This other pike is at 240. It's crazy. If you had a good, strong, healthy pike unit holding this position, they would just completely dominate it. Over here, it's kind of the same situation because there's nothing to counter the pikes. They don't have any archers. Their pikes of the attackers are either dead or, once again, too weak to go in. Now Seleucid does have a unit of thorax pikes over here. It's 111 men, and I'm not really sure what it's doing over there. Does Seleucid have anything else? No. So Seleucid has nothing else except for... Oh, wait, he has one... Okay, tiny unit of thorax swords here. A healthy unit, sorry. But that's it. He has a thorax sword and a thorax pike, and the thorax pike's just standing there. So I'm not particularly sure what's happening there. But these Macedonian pikes are just... Gosh, man, they are just destroying lives. 384 kills. And then the Bactrian pike is up to 243. And honestly, so the attackers, I don't really know why they didn't come in on the sides here to get into the sides of the pikes. There's things that the attackers could have done, angles they could have taken. But what they say, hindsight's 20/20. It's really easy to sit here and say, hey, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But in the end, this is what happened. So. But the pikes in the center are just really doing work. Now this side on the left here is really getting a little sketchy. We've got the Royal Cataphracts from Parthia, the Heavy Horse from Arverni, and the Pontic Royal Cav from Pontus that are just look like they're waiting to get through here. They're like sharks in the water, just waiting for a gap to get through. Now, it looks like, Macedon saw Pontus's cav coming, and so he decided that he was going to countercharge with his companion cav. Companion cav will probably get the bonus there. I think that they would win that, especially with the reinforcements. Now the issue is Bactria did leave a gap on this side, and Arverni's going to take it. Looks like he's going to get through, and let's see, what direction are you going to go there, Arverni? All right, he's just going to sneak right through and get right behind him. That's a good move. Good move there. Yeah, this side's getting really bad, especially with the point being right here. And look, see, all those units that were over on this side, they're so far away from supporting the victory point. I just think it was a bad move. I think that Pergamon and Macedon should have fallen those troops back from that side. They just weren't doing anything there. Because now, you're fighting, you're rushing, you're rushing everything back to the point. Oh my gosh, where do we set up? Oh, get over here, we need troops here. Instead of, they could have set a lot of this stuff up earlier, rather than defending parts of the settlement that really didn't matter that much. This is such a close fight, but it does look, as you can see by the balance of power, you can see that it does look like the attackers are starting to get they've really swung the power in their direction, and I think it's just been, some mistakes that were made on the defenders' part, really just, not setting up their defenses where they really should have. So the attackers have really, they've got the point at this point. Right now, the defender's job is to kick them out of it, and it's going to be hard to do. They are now trying to defend on one side and yet push back on another side, and that is very hard to do at this stage of the fight when there's just not very many of your troops left. Now, it does look like Seleucus Thorax Pikes were finally activated. Still 111 men. They've only got 26 kills, so they haven't done much. But I bet you they're going to start racking up some kills against these Agema Spears. Agema Spears just don't really have a counter to them. Now, Arverni is starting to move a lot of his units around the side here, and Macedon's going to set up his pikes and try and counter that as much as he possibly can. The pikes here, yep, they're already up to 33 kills and haven't lost a single guy, so the Agema Spears are really just going to pay for that, unfortunately for them. The Pontic Cav is duking it out with the Pergamenes Noble Cav. Pergamenes Noble Cav is at 61 out of 80, and the Pontic Cav is at 13 out of 80. But the Pontic Cav really was fighting a lot of other stuff before it even got to the Pergamon Cav. Pergamenes Noble Cav are at 251, and let me see where the Pontic Cav go. 104 on Pontus's cavalry. But yeah, the Pergamon's general did a great job with this cav, really just getting a lot of cycle charges. And the companion cav also, just gosh, man, 208, good lord. 279, 80 to 82. Man, they are just racking up kills here, man. That is, oh. Companion, I'll be honest with you though, Companion Cavalry is one of my favorite units in the game. I absolutely love them. The pikes here are countering the Arverni Levy Freeman, and as you can see on this side, they just completely busted through those Agema Spears, and so this entire thing is just broken through. The 4 units left for the defenders are Companion Cav, the Noble Cav, Pike, and Slingers, and this cav from the general cav is just, they are just destroying everything in their path. 303 kills, and I think Pergamon 324 kills on their cavalry. That is just ridiculous for a unit that didn't even make it out of the city. That was all kills that they got inside this settlement. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we can call this a attacker victory, but man, I think this is a great fight to watch. It honestly was pretty close for most of the battle, but I do think that there were some mistakes made by the defenders towards the end that I really think cost them. They spread themselves a little too thin in the settlement, and made it extremely hard to support each other and support different flanks with the few units that they had left. You know, they just didn't have enough to support, you know, what, three different sides, you know, the side here, the middle, and then the right. So three different sides, and they were very, very spread out. I really think that towards the end they should have condensed down a little bit more. Now the companion cav is still alive, and he's just going for kills, but man, he's going to get them. You know, he's already 359, 360? Yeah. Now he's probably going to break here soon. Yeah, he does have army losses on his card, but he's still steady. You know, they have great morale right now, which is very, very good. Yeah, he's just racking up kills at this point. You know, he knows he's lost, but he wants to get some kills with it. 370. So he's doing a great job with that cavalry. Now I do think, yeah, there we go. I think he's probably going to break here. You know, let's go ahead and fast forward through this.
What do we say?
Gosh, he's just getting great charges. 386 kills there. Gosh. But it looks like he's going to get caught. Oh, and he ran right into some pikes. Oh, no. Down to 11 men, but he's got 431 kills. Oh my gosh, wait, where did Pergamon come from? Now Pergamon's cav is here, and he's got 42 men left, and he's got 408 kills. Where did he come from? What? Oh, and he's going to charge into the naked. Oh. All right, man. Good lord. 446 kills. You know what? I know that this battle's over, but gosh, you got to give props to these guys for getting some great charges with their cavalry. Gosh, you got to love some good cav play. There's nothing better than that. It does look like Macedon finally broke with 431 kills, and I think Pergamon's probably going to be here, and he's probably on his way out right now. It's wavering. Might get one more charge. One more. Oh, 470, something like that. 469. Oh, gosh, that's great. That is fantastic. Oh, man. Okay, this was a lot of fun to watch. Not gonna lie, I love doing battle replays of battles that I wasn't in. It's so much fun to see it from a perspective that you haven't already seen. Alright, let's go look at some kills here. Gonna end the replay. Now, looking at Axe Minister, his Oathsworn did fantastic with 333 kills. His archers all did... two of them did solid, two of them did okay. Celtic Warriors, 172 kills. That's fantastic. And then his his chosen swords, 216, 185, 160, 150. So not too bad for him. Now, Poopy Man, Parthia, 3,300 kills. His Royal Cataphract's got 243, 189 with the Giant Ballista. His archers did fantastic. Everybody over 125 kills. Axeman Hillman did okay, but, you know, they're Hillman. And his Parthian swords actually did really well. 338, 356, 222. Billy over here, his Pontic Roll Cav, 126. Hillman kind of got their butts kicked, but they're Hillman. And then his Pontic swords did pretty well. 153, 133, 29. Then Beastmaster with 2,000 kills. Now, Billy didn't get a whole lot of kills, unfortunately. Beastmaster with 2,000 kills. His archers did fantastic. His Hillmen got their butts whipped. And his pikes did okay. They did their jobs. And then his thorax swords all did pretty solid. Now, on the defender side, Soloing Pixie, 220 from the Bactria Royal Guard. His archers all did a solid job. 197, 207. Pikes did pretty good, 280. Thorax swords all did solid, 209, 146, 188. Ninja Dragon, 474 kills on his general. Gosh! 260 for the picked Peltis, 128, 116, 191 on the slingers, 210, 232 on the pikes, And then the Agema Spears, 168, 196, 127. And look at the Galatian Swords. They did awesome. 179, 302 with the Galatian Sword. That's really nice. Now, Daewoo. So, archers, for the most part, did good. Looks like this guy probably got focused down. Spears didn't do too great. He only got 1,400 kills, and I think this is why right here. Spears. I think it's just way too many spears. Mercenary Axe Warriors did a decent job, 186, 112. Andrew, 431 on his gen. Good lord. 64, 60, 63. I'm going to be honest with you, and I hope this is okay. That's not good. Green Archers getting under 100 kills like that, that's not good. I think you're either shooting at the wrong stuff or you're taking bad fights with your archers. A lot of, so his pikes did great, 387, 146, and then Thorax Swords all did a solid job. But what I'm noticing here is very, very small army. Like, he's missing a ton of unit cards here, and that means that I think they're playing on large funds for this, and unfortunately, that means that he just picked way too many, like, Thorax Swords. He unfortunately probably needed to get some different units into this army. Daewoo's not bad. He's missing 5 units, but that's okay. Ninja Dragon, not terrible. I think that's okay. Solo, kind of the same thing. Look at this. I mean, that's a ton of unit cards that you're missing here. Beastmaster did a really good job. Plenty of units here. Billy Blaze is missing some. Poopy Man did a good job. And Axe Minister had a good army as well. I do think that the defender. Well, one to keep in mind though is the defenders do have a smaller. They get a penalty to their money for defending. So, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. I thought it was a blast to play. That ending was a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, if you liked the battle, if you liked everything that you saw, please leave a like, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, I would truly, truly appreciate the subscription. But other than that, you guys have a good one, and we will see you next time.